everybody. I'm going to offer a short introduction. I've just done the introduction, but Murad Sharifzade is with us today. He is a student, a former student of mine. He works with me on the team, and he's recently had success not only in his studies abroad, but he's recently been accepted to the University of Chicago. So I've invited him on to tell us what he did. Tell us some secrets. So he's going to share a video presentation, and let's hear it for Murad. Murad, welcome.
So I will briefly talk about my experience of studying abroad and top university admissions and my experience and insights. In 2019, I finished high school, and in Azerbaijan, you go through a university exam where you get a certain score, and based on that score, you apply to certain universities. And I did that. I get really good score, but unfortunately, the area of study that I chose was not really aligned with my future aspirations and goals. So after 2 years of studying in that university in Azerbaijan, I decided to quit. Uh,
Hmm.
and I decided to study abroad because in Azerbaijan, things are a bit restrictive in the education system. So I will go to the details of those. But first, let's look at the table of contents. So we will talk about how I decided to study abroad, then adapting to a new culture, my academic experience, personal growth and lessons learned, overview of the application processes to foreign universities, my application journey, tips for prospective students, and finally we will have a Q&A session, hopefully. So decision to study abroad. As I said, I made a poor choice of academic focus. And in Azerbaijan, because the system is quite restrictive, you have to go through for another 1, 2 years of process. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to lose some time on it. So I decided that the studying abroad is the best option for me. So there are many things that I've considered back in the day. If I were to apply today, there were much more things that I would have considered as with my experience, obviously. So firstly, on top of the list is what you want. What are you looking for? What do you want to study? What's your interest area? And where this is the best, yeah, where they provide the best education in that certain field. That is what I was looking for, obviously. Then you have the economical factors, which is you should be really realistic at, even I would say pessimistic about. You should really consider your odds, if you can afford living in a certain country, what are the things that or how much money you need monthly, and if you can get a job or not, and these are the things. So within the intersection of these two things, your interest and the economical factors, you're looking at, when you have that intersection, which for me was back in the day definitely Europe, but for example, I had the option of applying to Germany, Netherlands, or Poland, and I had to go with Poland because of the economical factors. Then you have to look at the quality of education. So you go to the rankings of the university, you talk to the students from that university, you go to the rankings by subjects, even just to understand that if this is the type of education that you are looking for. And then there are travel opportunities, which are really important for me personally. If you will be able to go to some different country, or I don't know, experience different cultures, how easy it is to do so. These are also important things, and familiarity with the culture, I would say, is also important. For me, it doesn't really matter that much, but I know a lot of people who really want to who really want to study somewhere where they're really familiar with the culture. For example, in my case, it would be probably the Mediterranean area, but for me, it didn't matter. And I was looking for a specific program called liberal arts education, and it was really limited. There were a limited number of such programs in Europe, and I think I went for the best one. So my university is Adam Mickiewicz University, Poznań, as a professor mentioned, and he's a professor at that university as well. And this it's third in Poland by ranking, but by subjects, it's really in a good position in general in the world. So, anyways, these are the things. If you or your cousins or your children would need to consider, these are the things that they need to look at first. Obviously, there are more details, but generally, this is the general sketch, I would say. So, adapting to a new culture. This is probably the biggest challenge Because when you go to a certain university, you go to this class, you have certain materials, you study or not, you get a good grade or not. It's really kind of simple, to be honest with you. But adapting to it, building a new life based on a new culture, having this different interactions with people from different backgrounds, and in the end, still making the most of your time, still working effectively, and keeping that work ethic of yours. These are really challenging things, and the key aspect to it is adapting to a new culture. So, what are the challenges? The challenges in the language barrier, that's for sure. For example, in my scenario, I'm originally from Azerbaijan, and the Polish language is quite far away from me. Yeah, it has some similarities with Russian, but which was really helpful to me. But still, it's quite a difficult language, and I think it's ranked like the sixth most difficult language for English speakers in the world. So it's quite challenging, and a really challenging alphabet as well. But anyways, still, this is not an excuse, because if you're going to study or live in some place more than 6 months or something, you have to look for the ways to learn or to understand the language. It's a must, because I know Polish to a degree, and I have a general understanding of it. I know certain phrases and words. And can I carry out my life without Polish? Yeah, absolutely. But there were such points during these 3 years that I always said that I wished I knew more, because it's not the fact that I was in such a trouble I needed it. No, it was the moments that I was really interested in certain things, but I couldn't get a hold of it. I couldn't have this dialogue with this lady. I couldn't have this interaction with this person just because of that. Yeah. So this is really important to adapt to a new culture. Then adjusting to different customs. In Europe, things are a bit independent, and but if you're somewhere else where things are working in a traditional way, you really need to adjust to their traditions and understand them and be open-minded about them. And another difficulty is feeling isolated at first, obviously, because you're in a new background, people don't know you very well, and will you get along with them or not? These are the challenges that a lot of students around me faced. You know, I did not face it a lot, because the first thing that I did was the most important thing. I always hang out with people from my country here, but I avoid that. I try to have friends from Poland or somewhere even outside Poland while I'm here, so I don't feel isolated, or I don't lose my open-minded view towards the interactions. The solutions, again, learning basic Polish, engaging with local and international students, and exploring the culture actively. So what you should do, you should go celebrate holiday with the people of that country. You should, for example, there's a day in Poznan where they are cooking certain sweets and eating them, and they even celebrate that day. It's a special day. And I do it all the time, because that's what you're supposed to do. You need to belong so you don't feel depressed or isolated. Yeah, I try to belong, and that learn teaches you a lot of things. So, this is another short experience that I want to mention. So, when you're abroad, you are more courageous than you were before. You're braver. You're more brave, definitely. There are a lot of opportunities around, especially in Europe. There are Erasmus projects, trainings, I don't know, internships, some gatherings, international gatherings in a cafe, in a bar, quizzes, games, many things. And you can do a lot of activities. And one of these activities was called Summer Work and Travel Program. So what it basically was, actually you can apply it internationally, but in Europe it's rather easier to do so, to get accepted. I mean, this is a program where you apply to uh, work in some touristic area in United States for 3 months during the summer, and you basically go there and be in an international environment, meet with students from different backgrounds, and work, make money. And at the end of 3 months, you have this 1 month gap where you can travel, and you get basically 4 months visa for USA. So it was a bit expensive in the beginning just to apply, but we really make up for that experience. And this is something that's not measurable. This was probably one of the best parts of my life. I've been to US for 3 months. I've been to this small town called Laconia in New Hampshire, USA, and it was really fun time there. I met really valuable people. The picture on the left is with this group of people. They're workers from the hotel. They're students from Turkey, Jamaica, and Kyrgyzstan. And we were celebrating, I think, July the 4th, the Declaration of Independence in USA. And the picture on the right is that picture that I took, and I really admire that picture because it's probably the most American picture that I have. You have the sign of fast food chain, Taco Bell. You have a school bus, very American, and you have a car which is brand, which whose brand is a Ford, basically. So the very American symbol things, and a beautiful sky of Laconia, New Hampshire. Anyways, so academic experience. So another thing to consider is the difference in academic experiences. So what is basically happening is from culture to culture, when you travel to a different place, just by the way people treat each other, the education differs. So in the case of Europe, for example, we all know that, we all say that compared to West, as compared to East, West is more independent. And now, what is that supposed to mean, independent, or more appreciate individualism or being an individual more? So I saw it firsthand. I saw that difference firsthand. For example, I will give you a very simple example, and I think it will say a lot. So if you are in Azerbaijan, in a university, a lecturer talks, and if you're doing something in your computer, it's a very normal thing that lecturer will turn to you and say to you, stop what you're doing because I'm listening and you should listen. I'm talking and you should listen to what I'm saying right now. And this is a very normal thing, considered a very normal thing that teacher interrupts with you if you are not engaged in the class. But here in Europe, that's not what's happening. You can do whatever you want unless you are not interrupting the class or the lecture. You are free basically inside the class. And this seems like a small thing, but it's actually not because it encompasses the whole education process. So the professor in Europe doesn't really try to encourage you or, I don't know, make it something emotional or something like that. They are just professionally doing their job. They are explaining certain topic. However, in Azerbaijan, there's this thing that, try to pushes you and, just uh, tries to correct your mistake, which is far away from being an individual. So even though I like that push from the lecturer, today I think when I compare it, today I think that more independent learning, just leaving it to the person is much more valuable because that is the point where you understand your responsibilities and you decide if you want to do certain things or not. And that's the main difference when it comes to this academic experience. So more independent learning as I mentioned, less strict exam and assignments compared to my home country. This is a thing. This might change from subject to subject, but this is what I experienced. And professors encourage critical thinking. This can relate to both countries, I guess. So key takeaways, time management is crucial. Learning how to be responsible individual is absolutely important. And of course, asking for help is normal and useful. There are a lot of services inside the university, and you should take advantage of that if you are inside in kind of any kind of trouble. And this is the picture of my university in Poznań. This is the main building that was built in sometime in 18th century, I think. So let's go to the next one. So personal growth and lessons learned. So I became obviously more adaptable. I learned how to navigate challenges alone. And finally, I developed new perspectives on education and culture. And this is really, the final one is really important to me because today I want to study and I want to go after a field that's related to education, the policy of education, sociology of education, theory of it. And I really want to understand it. And I think it comes from the fact that I have this various perspectives on education, how it changes from culture to culture, or what is the idea of ideal education and these kind of things. So I think studying abroad in that sense is very valuable because it builds your profile that you can use to find your way. So applying to top US universities or applying to universities in general, if you are or someone around you is interested, there are certain things that are like a standard. First and foremost, standardized tests like TOEFL, IELTS for English, or SAT tests for universities, or GRE, GMAT tests based on your area if you need it or not. Then there are essays and personal statements that you need to write. In US, it's called personal statements. In Europe, it's called motivation letters generally. Then you have letters of recommendation and some additional requirements, some additional essays, I don't know, CVs, videos that you need to send, and many things really. It's really complicated, so you need to really read through sometimes, but as soon as you get hold of it, you know what to do and how to deal with it. So my application journey. So I am really committed into education in general. So as soon as I was in my second year, I started making my plans. I prepared an Excel file where I put the universities that I want, all the requirements, deadlines, work experience, this certificate, that certificate. I have like a very Excel file of, I don't know, dozens of sheets where you have different options. And so there are some challenges like writing a compelling personal statement. So, you are giving limited information to the admission committee that you're applying, and you should do something, but you want to sell yourself, but you need to sell yourself in a genuine way, in a way that really helps them to understand who you are and, see them if you are the right profile for this application. And it's quite challenging. So I'll try to explain how did I do it. And yeah, then navigating financial aid and scholarships. Scholarships are have a lot of requirements, very strict deadlines, and much before the academic year starts. It's quite challenging as well. Standing out among thousands of applicants. This is probably the number one thing that you need to think about, especially if you're applying top universities in United States. So what helped me? Highlighting unique experiencing, clear motivation for choosing the University of Chicago, being sincere, and understanding US admission process. Now, what do I mean by that? So if you go to any top university website in the United States and read the admission page, you will very likely see this sentence saying that the selection committee evaluates the applicants holistically. There will be some other adverbs, but the rest is not really important. It's all about this holistic approach. Now, what does that supposed to mean? Well, it means that they are not looking for this and that in you, but they are looking at you as a whole. They are looking for a profile. They are looking for an individual who means something to them and whom they can envision in this program exactly that you're applying. So this is absolutely crucial that you build a profile that stands out. It doesn't have to be very weird or something, but it has to be genuine and it has to translate to something in their mind. So I will give an example, and this holistic approach is very valuable, I think, and it means another thing. It means that, for example, let's say you have a great IELTS score, great, I don't know, work experience and everything, but your GPA is not really that great. And if you are applying to top university in Europe, this might be a reason to get eliminated right away because you don't have the right GPA. But in US, they don't look at it like that. They look at it in a way that if you had a failure, let's say, if you made a mistake back in the day, and if it means something, and if it translates to something, and if you can put it in your personal statement in a way that you help them understand what happened and why that happened and how it relates to you as a whole, then you can very well be accepted to even the best universities with the not perfect scores of this and that. And I will give you an example of it. So when I was in my university in Azerbaijan, in the last semester, I did not really study. So I didn't have very good grades at all, like in the last semester, because I knew that I was not going to continue here and I didn't do much. And I have my transcript from that university and I upload that transcript to my application for Chicago. And I thought over it a lot when I was doing it because I had some bad grades from some other subjects, and they might have seen it and say, hey, look at this guy. He just, he has really bad grades, even though it's another university. Like, it means that it's not such a diligent student in front of us. But I did was uploaded that transcript because you're supposed to upload all the transcripts that all the information from the previous universities that you have attended. I uploaded it, and in my personal statement, I put it that uh, I made a mistake, although it was mostly because of my mistake. It was also the reason that poor educational policies was implemented in my country, and that also contributed to the fact that I made this mistake personally. And that is why I am applying to public policy in Chicago University because I don't want other people suffer from such poor policies that are implemented in different sectors in the country. So I think so. Is that really the reason that I was admitted? I don't really know, and you might probably never know. But I think it really translates to something, and it somehow shows that I had this unique experience, a failure even, and this can be an asset to them because this gives me the real true motivation on going after this field. So tips for prospective applicants, what can be? Start early, always starting early, the key. Never think of, obviously you need to have the deadlines, but the more time you spend on it, the more time you think over it, the better and the better you're going to get. Research, plan, and implement. This is also a very important stage. You need to, use that Gmail to, send dozens of emails from different admission committees. I don't know, to find people in the internet who studied in those universities. Just try to find out, try to think all the possibilities, and then try to find out the answers to all of your questions regarding those possibilities. Then show a unique perspective in essays. Do not be afraid to be sincere, but don't be an unprofessional. Don't make it unprofessional as well. Yeah, put your perspective into words, help them to understand you, and do it in a professional and very solid, a very nice way. Attention detail is absolutely crucial because you're going to spend a lot of time on these things. And when you finish the application process, you have to feel that it was worth it. It was worth the time you spent on it. Because if you miss certain details, you feel like, which I have done a couple times, you will feel like, actually you just wasted your time because you didn't uh, uh, fulfill certain requirements properly, even though you could. So always have this attention to detail. Read the pages, read the, whatever material is available, and prepare things based on that. And finally, you need to build a profile. Doesn't matter what background you're coming from, who you are, it should stand as a whole. Even though in reality it does not, you should build it in such way that it will. Yeah, that's very important thing, and that helps people understand you because they don't have a picture of you, they don't have a video or something of you that they can just refer and answer, or they don't really know those people who know you, and they can give the all sort of questions they want. They just have whatever you give them, so try to give them something really valuable. So I want to finish this with a quote saying that a mind that's stretched by a new experience can never go back to its old dimensions. Now, I think it's very relevant in terms of uh, studying abroad, because the thing is, once you study abroad, once you go out of your comfort zone and just, experience new cultures and everything, your mind is stretched in a way that you've never thought before. Yeah, you can have barriers as well. You can potentially have barriers if you are not self-aware. But if you are self-aware, you try to think in a different way. You become more open, more tolerant, more sometimes motivated and everything. And as soon as you have that, you are now a different person. So I think this attempt or this attempts by people or leaving their homes or leaving their comfort zones always should be encouraged in this scenario because it makes us probably a better people, better person, I guess. So I think this was all by me in terms of my presentation. And if there are any questions that you would like to ask, I'll be very happy to answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, I was wondering when you talk at some point, you talk about being isolated and how did you deal with that in Poland, knowing the basics of the language. So I'm a person who are very interested in the knowledge of languages. Was English is my first and main option. And so the question is, uh, to what extent has your knowledge of the English language influenced you when you decided to apply to a university in the United States? It was, for example, was the idea of knowing a new culture, as you mentioned at some point, or the idea of traveling, or was the language in itself? Because you master the language very well. I
Thank
think
you.
you talk very well in English. So maybe English, this knowledge of English is the main point for you to choose a university in the United States. I don't know. No, do not know.
So, well, for me, actually, the top priority, the main thing that I was looking for is the quality of education. And we all know that US is leading on that, like absolutely no arguments. And that was a main thing that I was looking for. And if you ask me, to be honest with you, that when it comes to the language, I know the language pretty well. And thank you for your nice words. And will I I'm choosing it because I'm going to be comfortable. Well, I would rather go somewhere where I don't know the language, and through that I will have the opportunity to again learn a new language and get really good quality of education. Actually, this would work vice versa for me. So that is why I'm still considering, for example, Germany, because I see it as a great chance to learn German language at the same time. Yeah, this might be very, again, uh, getting out of your comfort zone and quite challenging. But as I've said, this is the thing with, I guess, studying abroad. And as soon as you leave, you're looking for more opportunities where you can get in trouble and deal with it, some way. And so language was not the main thing, no, for me.
Okay, thank you.
I am happy for you suggest and congratulate you, Murad, because I'm proud of your country in Azerbaijan, and we born in Gah. Yes, okay. I am very proud of you, and I congratulate you.
Thank you very much. I think you had so you're from Kach, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Are you a teacher at our school, I think?
Right now, I am people for Korten or student for Korten. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Right now, I am 32 years old, and yes.
Great.
And improving her English. All right,
Yes.
nice.
So
Thank you.
we are from the same city in Azerbaijan,
Yes.
basically.
Yes. Yes. I congratulate you.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
May I say something?
Yes, Jahuna.
First of all, I want to congratulate you, Murat. I'm also from Azerbaijan, and I'm very proud of that we have such talented students as you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions or comments you'd like to share or raise? I have one because I actually don't know this. I think we might have talked about it. Murad, when you first came to Poland to study abroad, what was your level of English compared to what it is now? So
So
I guess did you do the work and travel before you started Poznan or after the first year?
I did it after the first year.
Ah, okay. So what was your level in the first year? Was it B1, B1 plus, B2? I guess it was B2, wasn't it?
Oh, well, I had an IELTS test before I came here.
Ah.
I think I had it like in 2021, 2021, I guess, yeah. And it was 7,
Oh,
which
okay.
is considered C1, I think.
Okay.
But I was not confident speaking back in the day. Yeah, I had a lot of issues speaking because, I was not using the language regularly. I had the knowledge, but I was still lacking a lot of
Practice.
abilities, let's say. But yeah, practice. But yeah, for example, I will tell you something interesting that USA helped me to grab the language very fast, when we are talking with someone because they're speaking super fast generally.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it did not really help with my language. Well, it helped
Wow.
with the so because during daily life, what you're using is just some regular words, shortest words possible, especially in work. And I was just with some international students who didn't really know the language as well sometimes. Yeah, so what really helped was constant communication during classes where you try to express yourself in a complicated way, yeah, in a way that really means something, and you want to say something really insightful. And when you try to do that, that's where when you start improving. And yeah, and also just working on yourself again and again, just immersing yourself in language, basically making everything in English, watching, I don't know. It's just as time goes by, you get better and better slowly. But there's always, I think for a foreigner, there's always a thing that you hit the barrier always at some point. And to go over that barrier, you need to always make a further attempt. And what is that further attempt? It changes from person to person. For me, sometimes it was watching movies, sometimes it was really thinking through, sometimes it was just reading. It changes really.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Can I ask some questions? It was really interesting, Murad, to listen to your useful lecture. But I'd like to ask you about economical problems.
Mhm.
I know that it's small problems in comparison to getting education, learning. Did you have any economical problems during study? For example, I mean, did you study for free or you were funded by government? And where did you live? Do you have problems with a renting house, or did you live in dormitory? And the second question here is about education programs. Are there any programs in America and Poland which supports the foreigners, for example, studying for free or and other things? Yes.
So for the first question, I had some issues, yeah. So in the first year, it was mainly I had some saved money that I was using from, and sometimes my parents were sending me a bit, but I was trying to avoid that. And for example, when I went to US at the end of the first year, I made up some money there as well, and I used it in my second year, which was really nice. And then also I applied for scholarship inside the university, which we can do easily. And I'm currently getting some amount of money. I got it in the second year, also in my third year as well, getting certain amount of money which fully covers my rent. And but at some point, for example, in summer, I had to work in a just regular job in Poland as well, just to provide for myself. So yeah, there have been some ups and downs, but currently, for example, I'm working for a professor. I'm also getting scholarship. Sometimes my parents, thankfully, are helping me as well. So this is how I'm balancing. But there are people who are having more difficulties as well. So that's another thing when it comes to language. Yeah, you better learn the language of the country that you're going, because that really helps getting some even the regular jobs as well. And when it comes to education in US, if you're applying at top university, the thing is, if it's bachelor's degree, for example, you need a very high profile to get totally tuition-free studies. Very high profile. There are people that have done that. I've seen examples. But the thing is, US for example, you get accepted to, let's say, Harvard or some really good university, and you have a great profile. You just let them know that you provide certain financial documents that I have no funds to provide for myself and to pay the tuition fee for this program, and they can very well do it for you. This is very nice thing about US, but it's quite rare and it requires exceptional profile. In master degree, it's even less, I would say, even less chances. And in PhD, but you have opportunities where you work as a graduate assistant or something as an assistant, and you can provide for yourself, or so you can get a scholarship or something. In PhD, you have more chances, but in the early years of university, not really. In Poland, if you're an international student, you're obliged to pay, even public universities. But I think if you are going to study in Polish, then it's possible that you don't need to pay tuition fee. But other than that, you have scholarships of different degrees, or different grants that you can possibly apply. Based on your performance, you can do a lot of good things for yourself. You just need to research, really to talk to someone, and have as much information as possible. For example, Germany in that sense is amazing because the universities in Germany doesn't have tuition fee. Generally, doesn't have tuition fee. You don't have to pay any money for the university studies, but you have to obviously provide for yourself, and you can do that by getting a job if you know a little bit of German, I guess. So yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
We call those, by the way, if you are a great student and you have no financial means to pay, we call this financial hardship. So we have hardship, really two words together, hardship scholarships or hardship situations where the university will fund you or, subsidize your education, especially when you're near the end. If you get to the third or fourth year and you have a financial issue, the rich ones, the biggest ones can be sympathetic if you've been a good student. Do we have any other questions or comments before we let Murad? Yeah, Chopin, please.
At first, I'm happy to meet you, Professor Korten, and I'm looking forward for our meeting in Karaganda City.
Yes, I am as well. I'm very excited about that.
Maybe
Thank you.
you visit our university.
Yes,
It will
I'm going to be there.
very great, yeah. And Murat, I'm happy to see you. We have connection, yeah?
Yeah, we talked a couple times,
Yeah, we talked
exchanged some
about
materials.
meeting, and your experience is very great, I think. Yeah, your knowledge, your English levels, I think is very good. And I have question for Professor. Maybe, are there any programs for adults? Yeah. For example, work and travel is for young people. I think. And are there any programs to people like we maybe?
Well, Murad actually might have some insight on that. Murad, do you know of any for adults? We call
Well,
these mature by the way, there's a category called mature students, and that's anyone over like 25 or 30. They're now mature students. Murad, did you hear anything about mature students?
Maybe for teachers or of
Over
English.
teachers, yeah. I'll comment in a minute on that.
Well, to be honest, I don't have much information on that. There might be possible things under the European Union, Erasmus or things like that, where you might have certain exchange things, or I don't know, certain trainings, internships, but it really requires, I think, detailed search. And yeah, I don't know anything exact that I can just point out right now.
So I'll give you a few ideas. The Erasmus Plus, because you're at University Chopin. So the Erasmus Plus is a program for teachers that we can do these exchanges between universities. My university, the one that Murad attends, is very active in the international. And in fact, we have a working agreement. I think you sent me a photo of one of our representatives, or somebody did, of one of our representatives in Karaganda last year. In terms of the US, This gets a bit tricky because when you get older, you're sort of expected to finance it. And I'm referencing now the MBA. The MBAs, they want you to have a certain number of years of work experience. Then you can come on and do management courses. I'm thinking now of executive management courses, and they're very expensive. And there's almost no funding because they assume if you're president of a company or you've been in business for a long time, then you have enough to pay for it. In terms of teachers, I would suggest two angles. One is, and in fact, there are two ladies from Kazakhstan who are doing this, but they're in the IT field. But they are doing. I would Google initiatives for women. Initiatives for women. Now they're in tech, and Stanford University has a tuition-free program for tech women in tech from, I don't know if it's every country, but Kazakhstan qualifies, and they've been selected or they're going. So if I don't know exact details, but I know for teachers, you can maybe look for underrepresented areas of the world where they want that representation for good quality English. So one of the benefits that all of you have, if you come from a smaller country or less known or maybe economically lower, less advantaged, then one of your advantages is playing the underrepresented card. Meaning, okay, so I want to do what Murad did. I want to come back and change the system. I got poor grades, but I was obviously at fault. But the system was also rather poorly implemented. So the U.S. loves coming back and, having you go there, train, and then go back and change your country for the positive. There are these educational initiatives, but as Murad said, you're going to have to check it out. I would Google women in education. I would I think everyone here is a woman outside of so women in education is a great way to go play the women role because there's some opportunities there. And then also, Kazakhstan or maybe, CIS countries or, Central Asia, there'll be some opportunity there. You just need to do a search and start looking. Any other questions for Murad before got balloons going there. Premature celebration, Murad. Hold those balloons. Anyone else want to share before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, dear professor, for this opportunity being here. I'm happy. Thank you so much, Murad, for sharing with us your experience. It was breathtaking, really very useful for us. And I have a question, maybe unusual. What surprised you the most and greatly during your maybe learning process or in culture? What just struck or maybe you was overwhelmed telling really? Maybe in positive or even negative, if it's possible to find something off the top of your head.
Well, thank you for the question. I'm kind that's hardly surprised. Not I don't generally get surprised, but there's one thing I wasn't struck by it, but it was like I couldn't accept it for quite a while, and that was the way people generally communicate or interact. Let's say in Azerbaijan, I've lived in a very small town, very sincere people, genuine communication and everything. And here things are a bit different. There's, there are borders, and obviously there has to be borders, but the idea of borders is a bit different here in Poland or in general in Europe compared to what I have in my country. So I really wanted to sometimes share, I really wanted to sometimes get back from some people, but I always hit the, that border or something. And, personally, I know that these borders are obviously valuable, but if you cross it every once in a while, there's nothing bad going to happen. You will just build something very valuable with some friend of yours. But people here tend to not. They don't even have this concept of crossing that border, which is something that definitely surprised me. And yeah, sometimes I actually kind of feel bad for such cases because for me that's the only way that you can really build something genuine at some point. But you get used to it. You learn how to respect borders and or different type of approach to interpersonal communication. You understand all of this and you live your life based on that. But yeah.
Thank
you. Great question, by the way. Murad, did I show you my borders or?
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's different borders with professor and student, so those are always going to be there. But Murad, I think, was talking about friendship, making connections, going deeper than just a surface contact. And Poznań is a little bit chilly, that one, a little bit cold, I think, in that way.
Yeah.
Difficult to make genuine friends at first. I know, I'm sure he's done that, but difficult. Does anyone have a final question before we go?
Can I ask
Please.
some questions?
Oh, yeah.
Murad,
Who's this?
what motivated you to study abroad?
Well, I've always been a good student. I really like studying. I really liked understanding different concepts and, just discovering the world. And education is a great tool for that. It's really something valuable. As soon as you have it, you have different perspective towards the world. And I'm still craving for that high quality education. It doesn't really matter what area or something. At one point, it's like I want to just, listen to this professor or read this book or something. So that was my motivation all along, and it still is. And as I explained in my case, it was really hard to switch your area in Azerbaijan. So I decided that studying abroad was the best, and I was never scared to do it. And I met, but the issues that I met was from the perspectives that I never expected. But still, I'm happy that I did it. And yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you. So I will
All
stop sharing
right. I
quickly.
think I will close the meeting, adjourn it, as they say in formal settings. I'll adjourn the meeting. I want to thank all of you for turning up, and I hope something from Murad's story challenged you or motivated you. I think Shulpan's question was interesting because this is a mature audience today, in all the best possible ways, mature. But it's never too late to make these study abroads, make these adventures. And Chopin's question, I think, was great. And I think we should always continue that in some form, maybe not inside the university, but in some fashion, we should always be improving our mind. Thank you, Murad, for helping improve our minds today. And thank you for sharing.